I had 2 shifts left before I was gone forever, too, but somehow, management decided that my final night should be spent working a brutal closing shift with the one coworker everyone hated, working with a racist woman who refused to communicate, refused to help, and somehow made every shift feel twice as long. By midnight, I had a choice to make: stay and suffer or walk out and leave her completely alone during the rush. Before we get into this story, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and let me know in the comments, what would you have done in my situation? Would you stay professional until the very end? Or would you give management exactly the consequences they earned? Now let's get into it. So this happened during my final weeks working at a restaurant job I had been trying to escape for months. The place wasn't terrible because of the customers. It wasn't terrible because of the workload. IT was terrible because of the people running it. Management had this incredible talent for making every simple problem worse. Schedules were chaotic, requests were ignored, communication was non-existent. And somehow, every time something went wrong, employees were expected to magically fix it. After putting up with it for far too long, I finally got accepted into a program that was going to require more focus on my education. I was attending college and had a lecture every morning. Balancing classes with work had already been exhausting. So I submitted my 2-week notice. Professional. Polite. No drama. I figured I'd finish my remaining shifts, collect my final paycheck, and move on with my life. Simple. At least that's what I thought. Then the final schedule came out. The moment I opened it, I actually laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was so absurd. They had scheduled me for a late night closing shift until midnight on a night before my lecture, and they paired me with her. Everyone has that one coworker, the person who makes an 8-hour shift feel like 16. For me, it was this woman. She was rude, dismissive, and constantly made comments that crossed lines nobody should cross. Comments about customers, comments about employees, comments about race, the kind of comments that instantly make a room uncomfortable. Most people avoided her. Management knew exactly how people felt about her, yet somehow, there she was on my final shift, working directly beside me. The second I saw the schedule, I knew this wasn't an accident. Maybe management needed coverage, maybe they didn't care, or maybe they figured that since I was leaving anyway, they could dump the worst shift on me. Either way, I was stuck. At least for the moment. The night finally arrived. I walked into work already annoyed. The fluorescent lights seemed brighter than usual. The restaurant smelled like grease and cleaning chemicals. The sound of dishes clattering echoed from the kitchen, and there she was, standing behind the counter, looking miserable. I remember thinking, just survive one more night, one more shift, that's it, easy. Except it wasn't. Within the first hour, the problems started. She wouldn't communicate, wouldn't tell anyone when supplies were running low, wouldn't help when customers piled up, would disappear at random moments. And every interaction felt hostile. I'd ask a simple question. She'd answer with one word, or she'd ignore me completely. At one point, I genuinely wondered if she was trying to make the shift harder on purpose. The frustration kept building, minute by minute. Hour by hour, every glance at the clock felt painful, and the closer we got to evening, the busier the restaurant became. Orders started stacking up, customers lined up, phones rang constantly, everyone was moving faster, except her. She acted like the chaos wasn't happening. Meanwhile, I was doing the work of multiple people, just trying to keep things running. That's when something clicked in my head, a realization. I had already quit. I wasn't trying to earn a promotion. I wasn't trying to impress management. I wasn't trying to build a future there. I was leaving. In less than 48 hours. This place would be someone else's problem forever. Yet somehow, I was still carrying responsibilities for people who clearly didn't respect me. Why? The thought stayed with me, growing stronger as the night continued. Around rush hour, things got even worse. The restaurant exploded with customers. The kitchen was backed up. People were getting impatient. Orders started piling higher and higher. Management wasn't around to help. Of course, they weren't. They rarely were when things got difficult. And standing beside me was the exact person I least wanted to rely on, a coworker who barely communicated and contributed almost nothing. I felt my jaw clenching, my shoulders tightening, that familiar feeling of being trapped. Then I looked at the clock. A strange sense of calm hit me. For weeks, I'd been imagining my freedom. No more bad schedules. No more ignored requests. No more toxic coworkers. No more management pretending everything was fine. And suddenly, freedom felt very close, close enough to touch. I started asking myself a dangerous question. What happens if I just leave? Not tomorrow, not after midnight. Right now, the answer was obvious. The entire shift would collapse onto her. Management would have to deal with the consequences, the same management that ignored my availability, ignored my education, ignored every complaint people made. For once, they would be forced to experience the result of their own decisions. The thought brought a smile to my face, not because I wanted innocent people to suffer, but because the people responsible had spent months making everyone else's lives harder. And now reality was finally catching up. I finished helping a few customers, took a deep breath, looked around one last time, then I made my decision. I grabbed my things, clocked out, and walked toward the exit. Nobody stopped me. Nobody even noticed at first. The restaurant was too busy, the rush was too intense. I pushed open the door and stepped outside. The cool night air hit my face, and for the first time all evening, I felt relaxed, actually relaxed. No tension, no stress, no frustration, just relief. As I walked toward my car, I imagined what was happening inside. The realization, the panic, the sudden understanding that she was now alone, orders coming in, customers waiting, phones ringing. No backup, no easy escape. Just the consequences of a terrible schedule and terrible management decisions. And honestly, it felt amazing. Not because it was some elaborate revenge, not because I screamed or caused a scene, but because I finally stopped sacrificing myself for people who would never do the same for me. That was the real victory, not the chaos inside the restaurant. The freedom outside of it, and eventually, every bad decision sends a bill. That night, they finally got theirs. Sometimes revenge isn't yelling. Sometimes it isn't plotting. Sometimes it's simply refusing to keep carrying problems that other people created. The moment you walk away from disrespect, you force people to deal with the consequences themselves, and that's often more powerful than anything you could say. If you enjoyed this story, hit that like button and subscribe for more Reddit revenge stories every week. And tell me in the comments, would you have walked out during the rush, or would you have finished the shift? I can't wait to read your answers. Until next time, thanks for watching.